I'm Nirmala. I'm working as assistant professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering. Today I'm going to explain about this user documentation testing and domain testing. So documentation testing. This documentation testing involves the testing of the documentation and which will be developed during the implementation of the software. So the documentation of the software, the documentation of software testing, it helps in estimating the effort required for the testing, the coverage of the testing, the requirements tracking, specification tracking, as well as the tracing. So this documentation testing requires 10 documents. Test plan, requirements, databases, and traceability matrix. Test plan is nothing but the schedule of the schedule plan of the testing which is conducted during once the development is over. Next one is the requirements, the basic specification of the software product, and next one is the databases, and finally the requirement traceability matrix. So in software testing we have different types of the test documents. First one is test scenario. So in which scenario, in which OS the testing is performed, whether it is a manual test or automation test, everything is considered under this test scenario. Next is the test case, the test case which is carried out for each and every module. So in this test case we will be writing about the actual output as well as the and the expected output. Test plan, the total number of the testings which is carried out, and whether it is an automation tool or a manual testing tool. So everything is discussed in this testing plan. Requirement traceability matrix, it is nothing but we need to trace back whether our product have met all the requirements or not. Next one is the test strategy, the strategies which is involved in the testing activity once the implementation is over. Test data, the data which is required for performing the testing. Next one is the test out report. In the test report there will be actual result as well as the expected results. We need to make the comparison, if there is any bugs identified, we need to rectify it as soon as possible. Next one is the test execution report. In the test execution report, once all the test cases are executed, and finally we can able to give the execution report by comparing our actual and as well as the predicted output. And once it is compared, the bugs will be rectified and it will be given in this bug execution report. Documentation testing, so it is divided into two types, coding as well as bug fixes. So the coding part will be taking place from the requirement till the white box testing, and we need to first read and review all these documents, then only we can able to perform this documentation testing. Once it is over, we will be performing our unit testing, integration testing, and unit testing, integration testing, system testing, user acceptance testing. So these are the types of testings which are commonly carried out once our white box testing is completed. So benefits, so documentation testing, it helps in clarifying the methods as well as the objectives quality. It helps in ensuring the coordination of internal specification when the customer uses our software application, and it helps to give the clarity about of all our task and performance of a particular product. It can able to give the feedback of our product, and it helps in providing the feedback for our planning cycle. If we are going to write a test document, we cannot forget certain values. We need to first put those first points, those first. So it is also a time saving purpose because we can easily able to refer the text document, and we also make sure that it is consistent and it will be carried out the same value. So disadvantages, so it is a very bit long process because we have to maintain the modification provided by the customer parallel to our parallel change in the document should be often taking place. And if our tested documentation is proper, then we have to replicate all the entire quality of our application. Sometimes these documentations will be written by the person who does not have any knowledge about how our product is developed. Sometimes the cost will be exceeding its value. So domain testing, so it is a process in which the application tested by the given number of the inputs, and it will be evaluating the total appropriate outputs. The primary goal of the domain testing is to check whether the software application accepts the input with all the input range, and it delivers the required output. So usually testers follow certain steps while performing this domain testing. We need to first identify the potential variables. Next, once we have identified the variables, we can able to analyze and we can arrange them in an order, and we need to find out the boundary values and equivalence classes once the variables has been identified. Domain testing. So we need to identify the secondary dimension, and we need to analyze each in a classical way. We need to identify and test the variables that will be holding our output variables. We need to evaluate how our program will be using the value of the variable. We need to identify the risk, so we need not necessarily map to a obvious dimension, and we need to analyze the list of the variables which is unused, and we need to gather the information for the later analysis. So this is a given problem in which is going to be performed for this domain testing. So they have considered the age group of 6, and the competitions and the tickets are given based upon the age factor. So this is the domain testing. This is an example for the domain testing. So first one is the scenario, next one is the values, the total number of the test cases, and actual expected result is given, and once the testing is completed, the actual result will be also provided. That's it. Thank you.